Video blog.
Hey guys, this is Tim from Twice Circled, and welcome to the latest Megaquarium video blog. If you haven't heard, there's some big news. I announced just a few days ago a huge expansion for Megaquarium called Freshwater Frenzy, and over the next series of videos I'm going to be explaining all about the expansion, showing off some of the best features, so that when release day comes on the 4th of June, you will know whether it's something you'll be interested in. Now, if you haven't seen the trailer yet, I'm going to put a link to that in the corner of this video, so probably watch that first. It will give you a little intro, and then come back here for some more details. Okay. So the first thing I get to show you is we get some new paint. Okay, so I'm just sitting in a little custom sandbox that I've made, where I have everything set up to show you some stuff. And the first thing I've done is painted everything, and I've actually made use of one of the new features that, this is not where I want to show you, which is this. So this is going to hit the base game and the expansion. Doesn't matter whether you get the expansion or not. This is, you can now set default paint. So what I've done is I've painted my aquarium, which started off blue, and then I've also right-clicked on this, right-clicked on this to set this as the default, so that any new constructions we do will come in with this paint. And there's three other paints in the expansion that you'll get access to, so that's the first thing. But that's not the biggest thing. So let's get into some of the proper stuff. Freshwater Frenzy, it comes with a whole new biotope, which is freshwater, and I know a lot of people have wanted this for quite a long time. And you know what, designing this, it was kind of tricky, because I was like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to, it could get so messy if it's sort of like mixed in with the rest of your other animals. And so what I came up with is this idea of this toggle at the top of the build menu, which is actually on not every single menu, but all the ones where it matters. And let me show you how it works. You click this, and it switches over, and now you have only things which are compatible with freshwater, because freshwater tanks have to be kept completely separate to saltwater ones. Instead of sort of allowing you to mess it up and mix them together with disastrous consequences, I actually thought it was a lot simpler just to prohibit that from happening, because it's sort of step one is just keep your stuff separate. It's not a very interesting gameplay thing to allow you to mess that up. So what happens is you build a tank like normal, and this one doesn't actually have a... let's give ourselves a bit more space. The tank menu doesn't actually have a toggle, because any tank can be made freshwater or marine, saltwater. So what are we going to start with? We could start off with one of these new tanks, but that will I won't be able to see as well because it's the Jetty tank. I might build one of those next. Let's actually just start with this one. And yeah, let's go reasonably big, because freshwater presents some interesting challenges, which I will go into. Okay. And now, this looks like any other tank, right? It's currently a marine tank, which, just because that's the default, right, in the base game. But then we go to freshwater here, and we choose an animal. And this is actually the very first freshwater fish you get. It's the Convict Cichlid. It's sort of like the Azure Demoiselle of Freshwater Frenzy. It's got... requires a water quality of just 50. It's a little bit harder. It needs it's got some shoaling requirements, and it needs something that's not like orange pellet. And it's even got this a pH requirement, which is something I'll talk about in a little bit. But we plunk some of those in, and then this comes up and says converting to freshwater. So it happens automatically. You don't have to sort of choose the type of water that you have in the tank. The first object that you put into it basically determines this. Because now if we go back to saltwater, we try and put some of these guys in, and it won't let us. So it just keeps it super simple, basically. You just build the thing you want to do, and the game will take care of the rest of it. Now, all of the freshwater species that come in Freshwater Frenzy are tropical species. There's 30 of them, and I chose to make all of them tropical because I wanted to maximize the amount that you can mix them together and that sort of stuff. And as you'll see, there are already some reasons why things will be divided up, and therefore I didn't want to introduce additional reasons why you had to keep things separate. So let's just do the regular requirements now. It's obviously popping up and saying we need some temperature. So, these power combis are really useful in freshwater, and I'll explain why in a moment. Let's start with a couple of these. And let's just expand a teeny bit more. And let's put down a bloodworm. Bloodworm dispenser, it looks a bit similar to mussels, but it does come in a little cupboard. So hopefully you'll get in, and it has a different icon, so you'll be able to get used to the differences. It is a slightly different color, but it's it's close. I've run out of colours. There's so many foods now. Let's put something else in there. Okay, so let's talk a little bit. Now I've covered the idea of just how the freshwater toggle works, like, you know, how it, like, you even divide up your freshwater and non-freshwater. We can talk into some of their specific requirements. So the first one is pH. Okay, so freshwater animals, like the sea, okay, it's this huge body of water, it's all connected, and because of this, it actually has incredibly consistent pH levels across the whole of it, and it's generally just slightly alkaline. But in freshwater, depending on the conditions that these animals have evolved under, because of, you know, the natural conditions of that area, for example, there might be a rock that makes the water alkaline, or there might be something that makes it more acidic. Freshwater animals vary quite a lot in their pH requirements. And we can see this new icon here, okay? So the Convict Cichlid requires neutral water. And then we've got a little icon here. If this plus sign, which I'll show you in a sec, is greater than or equal to the volume, then the water is acidic. So this works a little bit like temperature, okay? So you have access to these facilities that generate acid, just like you have access to equipment that generates heat and chilling, heating and chilling. And if this number, the total number across them all, gets up to the volume of the water, it becomes acidic. Now, this is actually neutral, which means we don't want to do that. So this is more of a sort of preventative thing. It's saying don't put too much acid in, or this thing won't be able to thrive. It also means that we're not going to be able to put anything in that requires acidic water, because they're never going to be able to both be happy. So let's just add some more neutral things in. And of course, we have our search, you know, so I can type in neutral, and this is interesting. Okay, so this is the equivalent of something like, imagine in the base game there was something that could go in tropical or cold water, or here we have something that can go in either acidic or neutral. So this red striped earth eater is a really nice one. It's quite easy to mix into various tanks, which is pretty cool. So I think let's put in a Midas cichlid. I've got a couple of cichlids here, and then I'm going to just start showing you some of the new mechanics, and then I'll do a acidic tank as well and show you that. So let's put a Midas cichlid in. We got some more difficult care requirements in Freshwater Frenzy. So for example, not difficult, kind of interesting. So this, we've actually adjusted the shoaler care requirement so that there's some additional values. So this guy can actually go on their own, or they can go in a pair. But if you go for more than that, they'll fight each other essentially until you get up to 6. So it's kind of interesting. It's 1 to 2 or more, or 6 or more. So, and this guy also has this thing called territorial, which means the combined size of the Midas cichlid must not exceed 50% of the tank capacity. Now this guy grows up to size 10, and this tank is a size 60. So we could only have 3 full-size Midas cichlids before the territorial thing kicks in. And the idea of this territorial thing is that it's like, if the tank is too full of this, if they don't each have their own space, then they'll start fighting each other. Now this is sort of interesting already, because we can't put 3 in because of the shoaler thing. It has to be 1, 2, or 6 or more. So we're going to have to go for 2. And this is sort of what I've gone for with this expansion, right? This is definitely it is meant for the people who have played the base game. It has some interesting additional things, which makes designing your tanks, I think, a little bit more challenging. But I would say mostly just more interesting. Like, don't be scared off. Like, nothing in this game is like, it should scare anybody. Everybody, literally anybody, can learn to play this game. You know, there is no one who I think this is like it's gonna be too like stressful to play. But hopefully you'll agree that it's kind of interesting. If you've played with like the 97 species in the base game, why wouldn't you want some more interesting kind of thought process that you have to go through while you're designing the tank? All right, I'm doing my normal thing where I chat too much. Look, okay, so this is obviously not anywhere near all of the species, but we're at about rank 6. We haven't unlocked them all yet. We've got the guppy. Everybody loves guppies. These guys are actually breedable. They're also hybridizable, which you've probably seen in the trailer. I am not going to show you that today. I'm going to show you that in another video. But these guys are neutral. We could put some of these guys, but they're wimps, which won't go well with the bully. Earth eater. Amazon angelfish is acidic. Maybe some tinfoil barbs. I think we could probably squeeze 3 of these guys in. Yeah. Okay, let's squeeze 3. Okay, 3 of those guys. Now they've got some plant requirements, so let's add some plants. Now freshwater has completely new plants. Because just true to life, these plants would not be happy in saltwater. And so this is why the toggle isn't only on the animal screen, because if you go to the plant screen, here's our saltwater plants, and here are our freshwater plants. Now you'll notice other things that can go in either, like rocks, caves, obviously your decorations, your, what do I call these, theme decorations, they can go in either. So the toggle provides this really nice system. It's not like if something's on one side, it can't be on the other. It just means everything on this screen is now compatible with freshwater. A lot of design work went into this. It might seem simple, but this was like the third thing I tried, and it's, yeah, it feels really good. We got the Amazon sword, which is a classic, like 2 plants for 1 space, or we got 5 plants over 2. So this is slightly better. This is bogwood. Has another aquascaping thing I'll talk about in a bit, and it also provides acid. So we don't want that because this is a neutral tank. So we're going to go for the corkscrew vallis. So a couple of those will do it. Now everybody's happy. That's wonderful. We're fine for the water quality, but we do have one little issue left. Oh, this is interesting. So this is a new one, open space. So this guy requires 2x2 square of open space without decorations. So basically, you know, you can sort of see that's 4 different squares there. That's 4 different squares. So there's plenty of room for this guy at the moment. And if you fill up your tank completely, there's not enough space for them to swim. They won't be so happy. However, this guy has this extra one called Plant Destroyer. Now this means that they may eat or damage plants to the point of death. The more plant destroyers in the tank, the fewer the plants, the greater the risk of losing a plant. So with these guys, you have to be a bit careful. It's not just about how many plants they need. Unless you're happy to lose your plants, which I'm not, then you need to add enough so that this percentage goes right down to 0. Because the idea is it's sort of sharing that plant destruction across multiple plants, and each of them is able to cope with it, and they carry on growing. That's actually enough. So that's now a 0% chance this animal will destroy a thing. Now, the more you add it in there, the more you need. All right, guys, let's get our place open. Just after adding a couple more things, let's get a feeder and Laura the Fixer. I didn't look at their talents. I probably should have. And let's put down staff door. Okay. So, just one other little thing which I think you guys might like. You can now close the aquarium. I'm not going to do it, but if you click this, it'll send all the guests home, and other than that, your aquarium will continue to run. So on creator mode, if you want to, you can actually play an entire aquarium without ever letting anybody in, because in creator mode, you don't need any ecology or science or prestige. Equally, you might want to do it for a redesign, but bear in mind that your prestige will drop to 0 eventually, because, you know, people are forgetting about your aquarium, and when you reopen, you will have to climb all the way back up again. So the quicker you can do your remodeling, the less prestige you'll lose. It's still going to be a big hit, though, honestly, because all of the people in your aquarium are going to leave. But hey, that's been in demand for quite a while, so I finally did it. I was worried about the effect it would have on the prestige, but I've decided, you know what, let the player decide whether they want to do it. Like, it's definitely got its downsides. It's not something you want to do every 5 minutes. Okay, let's build a second tank. So, you know what I really love? I love these lagoon tanks. Although, should we do the jetty tank? This is a brand new tank in the game. You unlock it quite early. It's quite a good tank, actually. First things first, it actually provides a bit of prestige because, I mean, we can read the description. The jetty tank has a suspended platform from which your guests can get a better view of the tank's contents, and they enjoy that, right? It's exciting going on the platform and looking right down on the animals. So this gives you a bit of prestige, which is pretty cool. It also has like a really nice capacity, 90 to 245. It's slightly more than the Belfast. It's not rounded though, so it's no good for your sharks. It's also quite expensive. You see that the base price, they're both, this is for the 90 volume, both of those, and this is almost, well, 30% more. Let's drag this out. And look, okay, so I'm just going to pause it, because look, these guys are actually viewing this because it's an attraction, and they're going, this jetty tank gives a totally new perspective on like literally nothing, because it's got nothing in it. So they're like, I like it, but you know, I don't like it that much. So it's coming as a marine tank. We're going to make this our acidic tank. So let's just check this guy out. No shoaling requirements, but I think let's put like 6 in. And this is our Amazonian angelfish. This is actually another breedable and hybridizable one. So you might have seen in the trailer, you can create different patterns of this one, which is pretty cool. And it's an acidic animal. It's actually got quite a lot of requirements. So let's try and fulfill some of these. Let's open up this a little bit. Let's make a little channel for our staff to be able to walk down. Okay, so now this has an acidic requirement because it's got acidic guys in there. So should we add a few more acidic guys first, and then we'll work out what we're going to do. You know what? We don't actually have anybody else who needs acid, but we can put this red striped earth eater in because this one can go in either. It's bully. This person actually has one called nibbleable. This animal has a nibbleable trait, which means it's sort of like bully and wimp. It means that there's certain animals which nibble at appendages, and therefore you have to avoid putting those two together. And it's also territorial, so let's just make sure we've not made the territorial thing go off. So 17%, so that's fine. We can put quite a lot of these in. Have a couple of those, and a load of those. Now look, in terms of requirements, we are really pushing this one up. It needs 12 bogwood, so bogwood. This is a brand new aquascaping requirement. Now I've added 1, 2, 3, 4. Depends whether there's some aquascaping requirements which are only needed for breeding, so it depends if you count those, but it's like, I think it's 4 to 5 new aquascaping requirements, the first of which is bogwood. So remember plants, rocks, and caves. Well, imagine how much more complicated when you have like another 5 of those, so it's 8 in total, and different animals all need different things. So this is really fun. This one actually gives a mixture of plants and bogwood, and it also gives us some acid. Now, all bogwood provides acid. That's actually what it is. It's this weird old, like almost like petrified wood. It's not actually petrified, but it's been sitting in a swamp for ages, and it slowly releases like ions into the water, which make it acidic. And so this is like really interesting, I think, because this is like a decoration, or whatever you want to call it. Piece of aquascaping which provides acid for your animals. But there's also, we haven't actually got access to it yet. We need to get some guys creating science. There's also a machine called an RO machine, a reverse osmosis machine, and this also provides acid. That one requires a fixer to maintain it with a new type of tool, and that's putting a bit of a burden on your staff, but it generates a lot more acid than bogwood does. So you've got this choice. Do you go for maximum, do you basically use a lot of passive sources of acid like bogwood, or do you go for the machines, which you need a lot more staff, but basically mean that you're able to make better use of your tanks, because you're not having to fill them with quite so much bogwood. Unfortunately, when we level up, we'll get access to some bigger pieces of bogwood, but we don't have those yet. So right now we're just having to use this. This is actually quite a lot of acid to get to. We've only got to 75 out of 140. So this is really interesting already. This tank is a bit too big to do the passive source of acid with, and I don't have access to the RO machine yet. I'm actually going to delete this tank. All these guys are going to drop on the floor. I think if I hadn't made it any bigger, if I'd just gone for 90, I think possibly I could fill this. These give 15 each. I could fit in 15, 30, 45. I could get to 6, 90. I could fill it with this, but then I wouldn't be able to put any caves in. Yeah, let's do that for now. We'll just fill it with the fern. And then what we'll do is once we get access to the... This guy's sitting in the water. Hey, our first bug. Oh, there we go. But it didn't last very long. But if I literally fill this, okay, we get up to the 90, but we don't have any space now to put caves in, so that earth eater is not going to be happy. But this guy's going to be happy because all they want is plants and bogwood. So let's just like really fill this place up. Is that, yeah, 48%, perfect for the territorial tag. So something else about freshwater, you can't use protein skimmers on them. They just don't work. This is from real life. Protein skimmers do not work on freshwater tanks. They only work on marine. So notice when we go to freshwater, the protein skimmer disappears. So it actually makes things like the power combi and the large filter useful for a lot longer, because you don't just switch over to using the double filters. Is that enough? In fact, I think, actually, you know what? Instead of using these combis, I should just be using a large of each. That's actually... Oh, this is something new you might not have noticed. So I've now put an estimate of the breakdown time on on this. So it used to just say something like 90 or 85, and it wasn't very clear. So now it actually gives you an estimate. So you can actually see, this breaks down every 3 days, this breaks down every 5. These numbers are actually subject to change. I'm going to do a little bit of a balance tweak through these before release. But the point is that these actually break down less often than the power combi. So I'm better off. And that's because the power combi is, it's having to do 2 things at once. It's just more complicated. Okay, and we're going to put a bit more bloodworm back here just to make sure we can fix it a bit quicker. Great, we've got our first bit of science. Now the first thing I want to get is this RO machine. It's super tempting to go to a bridge tank, maybe the guidebook shelf, or even this large combi. This is new. So because you don't have the skimmer, I've added 2 new types of filter, which are these big combis. Let me think about that. Yeah, sorry, I've added this large combi, and I've also added a mega filter, which is basically a 2x2, one of these. But we're going to go for the RO machine. And let's hope that we need some more science points. So let's just keep building. And as you can see, I'm rank 6 now, and you can do a fair bit just with freshwater. You are going to still need to build marine tanks. There's not enough freshwater as it stands. Although with mods, who knows? But why would you want to do the whole, I think this game is the most fun when you're building a real mixture. Although what I will say is the campaign that ships with the game, and I'll show you that in a later video. I want to do as little spoilers as I can at first, but if people want to watch that final, I think it'll be the penultimate video that I do, I will show some of the campaign, but I didn't want to because I didn't think you guys would want spoilers. And I will warn you before I show you the campaign. But the campaign is very freshwater focused. Okay, I want something that gives me science points. These blind cave tetras will be good. They pester wimps, so we do need somebody who's not a wimp. We've got a few wimps, annoyingly. We could put it with convict cichlids, and we could put it with more tinfoil barbs. This guy's a wimp, unfortunately. Something like that. This rocky overhang, I've tweaked some numbers a little bit. This rocky overhang is now good if you want a mixture of cave and rock, and this one's really good if you just want lots of cave. Put a couple of those in. Actually, probably want to switch one of these for some rubble, and then we could put a couple more of these in that. And then I'm actually gonna just connect these 2 with a pump. Now, hopefully it's obvious, and you would guess this, but you cannot mix acidic and you can mix acidic and neutral water, but what will happen is your sources of acid will get diluted, and you'll end up with neutral water probably, and then your acidic animals will not be happy. So you don't want to do that. And let's just add one more of these. Okay, cool. Let's put a bit of time on. Although maybe it'd be good to use the rest of these animals. Let me have a little look what else we can do. We've got this red striped earth eater, which I want to put in our Amazonian angelfish tank. We could definitely do some guppies. That's a wimp, so these guys could probably go in. I mean, I'm not sure we're filling these tanks. 40 out of 60. Actually, these guys are still going to grow up, so wait a little bit longer. So I've gone through a lot of the new care requirements already. Now, a lot of these are back compatible with the base game. Now, sorry, I don't want to get you too excited. They won't appear in your base game when you buy the DLC, but they are available for modders. So even if people don't own the DLC, the expansion, if modders use things like the open space, the plant destroyer, I'm trying to find them now, the nibbler, the territorial, these will all work in the base game if they add them to the animals, because I thought, why not? Why not just share the love? Things that need the expansion to work, like pH, right? It's not going to work unless you have all of the things that create the pH, and also a few things like breeding. The whole idea of freshwater won't, you won't be able to make freshwater tanks if you don't have the expansion installed. This toggle won't appear. So some things you do need the expansion to work with, but as much as possible, I've pulled stuff and I've made it available for modders for the base game, because I know that a lot of people enjoy the mods that work with this game. Oh, I don't think we've ever actually built a tool station. Okay, I did not want to show you that. Whoops. Okay, so I may have just shown you a teeny bit of breeding, which was not deliberate. I actually didn't want to show you any breeding in this episode, but I will save it for the next one. I'm just going to sell this. Damn it, guys. Okay, and we'll just pretend that never happened. I just don't want to confuse things too much. I want to save that one for the next one. But these guys have grown up. Oh, I thought we built a tool station. Oh, we just need another one. Maybe some guppies. But yeah, I was aiming to keep these reasonably short, but as usual, there's just so much to talk about, you know. Let's go. Let's use actually some of these Amazon swords because we want to like just mix up our plants. And these guys eat brine shrimp. So there's a few new foods in the game, you will have noticed. And once again, I'm going to use a power pump to daisy chain these. Then I'm going to keep all of my filters on this side of the aquarium so that my, well, I've got some over here. As much as possible, I'm going to keep my filters on this side of the aquarium so that the guys don't have to move as far. So now this tank doesn't need any. What else generates a lot of ecology? I really do need to get some of these guys. Well, soon we'll get our RO machine. This is a new quality of life feature, so you now can get a message which tells you when something is ready to grow up, but there is insufficient space in the tank. So I think what happened is these tinfoil barbs grew up, and now there wasn't enough space for both my cichlids to grow up. So we're just going to remove one of these, and now there's an extra 5 ready for this guy to grow up. You can even hover over this. In fact, let me just add that guy back in to show you something. So this goes red now, and it says this animal is ready to grow, but there is not enough space. So it's just one of those things. That's obviously, everybody gets that, you know. So part of the idea with this expansion is, you know, I released a load of cool new stuff which people have really wanted, but it also gives me an excuse to go back and keep improving the base game. So everybody wins, you know, whether you choose to buy the expansion or not, whether you wait until you can afford it, whatever, you know, that's absolutely your choice. But everybody's being looked after. Okay, we got our RO machine. So now we can add this. Let's just move this here. Put down the RO machine. Now the RO machine needs to be fixed occasionally with an RO membrane. And these actually get used up rather than the toolkit, which never doesn't get used up. So it's just a little bit more work for your fixers. But there are some things that will help with that later. Okay, so now we can actually... Oh, we still need a bit more logwood. Okay, so one more of these. And now let's add some earth eaters. These actually need quite a lot of logwood too. So let's put a couple more in here. And then they also want a cave. So like that. Now, are they happy? Now they have another one. I forgot about this care requirement. Right, Explorer. This means that they need a certain number of decorations, and they need to be different because they're basically it's generally for an intelligent animal which needs stimulation, and so they like different types of decorations to explore. Now this is tricky because I think we need to remove some angelfish here to reduce our requirements a little bit, and then we can get rid of one of these. We need one more bogwood. So one more bogwood piece, but then we can put in a barrel and a life ring. Let's take a little look at this in first person mode. Oh, we put it on fast mode. I don't like that. And it's another reason to decorate your tanks with different decorations, you know. And hopefully you're seeing that it's quite challenging, right, to fit all this stuff in. And I have tweaked it and I've tweaked it and I've polished it. And I think building tanks with freshwater is super fun. It's really interesting. And there's a lot of this sort of like, oh, this isn't going to quite work. I got to change this number. I got to buy a few more of these, sell a few more of those. And there we go. Our Cichlid is growing. and you can delete these. Oh yeah, I'll show you this as well while I'm here. If you go into the options interface menu, this is another improvement, so you can now choose which reports appear. So if you get sick of all the reports, I've added a few new ones as well, then you can turn them off, and then, yeah, not be bothered by them. So you're not going to be constantly going back, delete these, delete these. And I really wanted to unlock this guy. Here's a little look at some more of the animals. I'll show you a few more animals in every single video. This Adolfo's Cory has this new tag, which is communal, and they like to share with at least 2 different species of animal, which I think is an interesting one. But I don't think we're going to see it in this video because, you know, we'll save it for another one, because I don't want to just sit around waiting. You know what, I'll do that thing. I'll pause the video and I'll come back when I've unlocked that guy. Alright, I see you in a sec. Okay, we're back. How slick am I? You can tell I've not done this for a little bit. Alright then, so we've unlocked this guy. Let's see if we can do it. They're shoaler, they're communal, they need open space. This is going to be tricky. And let's unlock another acidic. Let's go with the, I think the Congo. Yeah, Congo Tetra. Okay, let's slow things down. Now, in terms of acidic animals, right, we've only got these 3. This guy, at the moment, obviously, this guy needs to share with at least 2 different species of animal. They're communal, they like to hang out with different types of species to themselves. That means they sort of need to go in this tank, but as we already saw, this tank is like really full. Maybe if we get rid of some of these angelfish. So I have a choice here. So I like how many angelfish are here, but you see, I'll decrease their chance of generating prestige if I reduce the number of angelfish. I think the thing to do here, actually, I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to delete all of this, and I'm going to build a new tank. I need like a staging area. Let's make this a bit bigger. So do you remember we started with like a bigger tank? I think something like that might work better. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick all these guys up. And this time I'm not going to worry so much about using, you know, doing passive. I'm going to use lots of those RO machines. I have to put some bogwood in, obviously, because some of our guys like the bogwood. But what did our communal guy need? No, I'm not decorating very nicely. Let's decorate slightly better. Let's add our Adolfo. So these need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we need a bit more plants. So we'll go corkscrew. Obviously, you unlock more plants as you rank up. And we're going to need some RO machines. Now, did these guys need open space? Yeah, they do have the open space. Thank goodness. I can't actually see it. Oh, it's here. Oh no. Where is that open space? I don't see the open space. I actually think that's a bug. I think there would be open space if I moved that to like here. But hey, I will get that fixed. And put that there. And look, it's like I did it deliberately. There's a thing there. And then we'll move our RO machine over here. We move that back a little bit. And then I think we're going to need another RO machine. You see, so I think this is a really interesting sort of decision here, because I've obviously made a better tank, but it's requiring a lot more. Not enough money. Oh my god. Whoops. Give me some money. It's requiring a lot of, look, I'm getting all this people complaining. Because it's more water, it needs more RO machines to get it acidic, right? Because that requirement goes up with the volume of water. And you've got to ask yourself, is it worth it? You know, maybe what I should have done in this situation is go for a smaller tank with less animals in it. You know, I think there's a lot of those sorts of decisions. Those decisions are in the base game, don't get me wrong, but I think they're even more in this expansion. And I'm really proud of it, honestly. Maybe we should put these large combis down instead. They are expensive. I can't really afford them at the moment. Oh, did I need that? I did need that, gosh, okay. 50, that's too much. Look, I mean, look how much stuff I'm requiring for this tank. You know, it's just bonkers. You know, so I'm not sure if that was a good idea, but it's probably generating me with a hell of a lot of prestige. Okay, there we go. We finally got everybody happy in that tank. Let's have a little look at these. Hey, look, it's like I'm swimming. Look at the little Adolphos on the floor of the tank. So cute. And there we go. So I think that is all of the sort of standard, I don't know, like community care requirements, like what can go with what. Actually, there's a few more secrets coming up. Actually, now I think about it, some of the more specialized animals. But that gives you a nice introduction into the big swings of making your freshwater tanks. And in the next video, I will introduce breeding and hybridization, and I'll be showing you what that all entails. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.